Hey there, how's it going, and welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to review and compare the Ledger Nano S and the Trezor Model One, which are the entry-level crypto wallets for both of these companies. I'm going to be reviewing these crypto wallets based on 7 key criteria, starting with price and working my way down. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. For the price of the Ledger Nano S, you can see if you go to the website that it's normally listed for $89 Canadian, which works out to about $70 US or about $61.50 in euros. You have to add to that shipping, handling, and potentially import duties. And by the time it actually arrived to my door, it cost me $112.50 Canadian. For the Trezor Model One, it's listed at 53 euros, which is about $77 Canadian or about $60 US. So the listed price is slightly cheaper. However, once I paid for shipping, handling, and import duties, it actually ended up costing $120 Canadian. Now this category is pretty close. The Ledger ended up being slightly cheaper for me, but depending on where you live, the Trezor might actually be the cheaper option. So all things considered, I'm going to call this category a tie. The next category is look and feel. The Trezor is made of plastic and the Ledger is made of plastic technically, but it has this nice stainless steel protective case. Also, the Trezor is slightly larger and the Ledger is more like a traditional USB in terms of the shape of it. Overall though, I genuinely feel like the Ledger feels and looks sturdier and it just feels like a higher quality product. So in this category, I'm going to say that the Ledger Nano S gets the win. The next category is hardware functions. Now both of them have a very small display screen and are controlled by 2 buttons, although I will say that the Trezor buttons are much larger and easier to hit, whereas the Ledger buttons are quite small and are on the side as opposed to the front. Both crypto wallets operate in a pretty similar way, and you need to take them and plug them into your computer and then activate them and confirm transactions by hitting these buttons. The Ledger does come with a much longer cable though, which actually is a pretty significant benefit because I've found that with the Trezor, this thing is comically small and it actually gets in the way of using it. Overall though, I'm going to say that the hardware functionality category is a tie because each of them has some minor benefit that the other doesn't. The next category is the software or the application that you actually use to access your crypto assets. When we're looking at the basic app, I would say that they have a pretty similar look and feel. That said, there are some key differences in functionality. For example, the Ledger Nano S has a space limit for applications, and as you can see, you only have a capacity of 144 kilobytes. So that means if you want to manage different cryptocurrencies, you can only choose a few to install the apps for. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have more than those stored on the Ledger, but it only means you can only actively manage the ones that you've installed the apps for. So let's say you've downloaded the Bitcoin and the Ethereum apps, but then you realize that you also want to access Cardano. Well, if you want to do that, you have to uninstall one of the other ones, then install Cardano while you're actively managing that asset, and afterwards you can go back and uninstall and reinstall whichever ones you want. But it does take a little bit of extra work. Trezor, on the other hand, doesn't actually require you to download and install an app to use it. You can see from the screen here that you can just choose to toggle them and that the firmware is actually hosted through the app. So it doesn't have to be downloaded onto the actual Trezor hardware wallet. So in this way, it's a little bit simpler to manage multiple cryptocurrencies simultaneously with the Trezor. Going back to Ledger though, they offer much more functionality and it's actually easier to stake your crypto through Ledger Live, for example, or you can use it to secure your NFTs. And you can see down here that soon they're going to be adding the ability to actually borrow and or loan your crypto assets, which is pretty cool. Also, both apps have a feature that allows you to exchange one crypto asset for another, although I don't necessarily recommend using that because the fees are quite high and you're probably better off just using a proper cryptocurrency exchange. Finally, when it comes to connecting with third-party wallets, both the Ledger Nano S and the Trezor Model One have a number of options. The Ledger is compatible with at least 24 different third-party wallets, including Adalite, which is used to manage Cardano and to stake Cardano, and the Trezor is compatible with at least 15 third-party wallets, including Exodus, for example. Now, overall, I do think that the Ledger Nano S has a slight edge in this category. Granted, it is a little bit more difficult to manage multiple cryptocurrencies simultaneously, but it does have a number of additional features that the Trezor doesn't offer, and overall, I think that the Ledger is just more versatile. In terms of the number of coins or crypto assets supported, Both of these offer well over 1,000, but technically the Ledger Nano S offers 100 more than the Trezor Model One. Also, the Nano S offers access to some cryptocurrencies that Trezor doesn't offer unless you upgrade to their Model T, which is a much more expensive model of the hardware wallet. For example, Cardano and Ripple XRP. So it is a bit of a trade-off. And for those reasons, Ledger also wins this category, although again, it is quite close. Okay, next up is security. And let me tell you a bit of a story here. So about a year ago, a team from the Kraken cryptocurrency exchange that works on security actually managed to hack into the Trezor Model One and the Model T wallets in 15 minutes. And all they needed was to have access to the physical hardware wallet and a couple $100s worth of equipment. Now, comparing that to Ledger, as far as I can tell, the actual hardware wallet has not been hacked. Although Ledger, the company, was hacked and had a bit of a data breach where the personal information and email addresses of a bunch of the clients, I think like hundreds of thousands of clients, was actually accessed by those hackers. And that information was then used for phishing scams where the hackers impersonated the Ledger company and tried to get access to people's private keys for their crypto so that they could steal it. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that type of security breach is terrible and that Ledger has a lot of work to do to rebuild the trust of its clients. But that said, I am a little bit more concerned about the hardware vulnerability of the Trezor because with phishing scams, it really does come down to user error on the part of the people receiving those emails. And so for me personally, I will never enter my private keys or provide that information to anybody online, regardless of where it appears that they are coming from. Anyways, in terms of some other security considerations for the Trezor wallet, when you plug it in, you're asked to actually type in your PIN code on the computer as opposed to on the actual device, which means that it could potentially be hacked more easily if someone has access to your network and to your computer. With Ledger, on the other hand, you confirm your PIN code with the actual buttons on the hardware wallet. Another point is that the Trezor software or firmware is open source, which does have pros and cons. On the one hand, it's easier to find bugs and to fix them, and also anybody that actually has knowledge of code can look at the Trezor code and determine if there's anything in there that shouldn't be. On the other hand, it does mean that hackers do have total access to the code and can look through it and try to find ways to exploit it. With Ledger, their software and their code is not open source, it's custom and it's in-house, so you don't have the problem of hackers being able to just look at it free for all, but you do have to trust that the Ledger people know what they're doing. When I compare all the factors in this category, again, I do think that Ledger has a slight edge. That said, for either product, as long as you never give out your private key information online and you keep the actual physical hardware wallet somewhere safe, I don't think that you would really run into any problems. And the final category here is compatibility. So both of these are compatible with Mac, with Windows, with Linux, and neither of them are compatible with mobile applications. Now, the Ledger Live app is available to download on a mobile device, but you won't actually be able to access it with the Ledger Nano S. For that, you need the Ledger Nano X. So all you can do with it is just look at the value of your cryptocurrency, but you can actually interact with it. And for the Trezor Model One, they don't have any mobile applications at all available. That said, I am going to give a tie in this category because I don't think that the mobile app for the Nano S is really all that helpful. All that it does is provide you with another way that you can check the price of cryptocurrencies every 10 minutes to see if it's actually changed. So here is the overall comparison with each of the categories broken down. You can see that there's a couple ties, but generally speaking, I do think that the Ledger Nano S is the superior crypto wallet, at least at the entry level. The Ledger Nano S just looks and feels like a superior product. I like the app slightly more than I like the app for Trezor. It offers more coins that are available with native support. It has more integrations with third-party wallets, and it offers more additional features and functions through the app like staking or potentially doing DeFi. And once you account for security as well and look at the big picture, I do just think that the Ledger Nano S is the better option. That said, if you've already purchased the Trezor Model One, or if you're looking at buying it because it's slightly cheaper, I still think that it's a great option and that honestly, you can't go wrong with either. Anyways, that's it for today's video. I hope you did find this review and comparison helpful. And if you did, please don't forget to drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel because I regularly post new content about investing in cryptocurrency, investing in conventional assets, and also starting a business. I'll see you next time.